This is just some general information about my company. Most of what we do sort of ties into training somehow. We do technical consultation, training, reference materials that explains the rules and regulations that govern retirement accounts, newsletters, and other content. So everything that we do is targeted towards educating our audience about IRAs and other retirement accounts and how they work. So the learning objective today is to understand the different ways in which IRAs, a traditional IRA, can be funded. We're going to be talking about Roth IRAs as well, and we're going to be looking at the limitations that apply to some of the different funding methods, and the issue of what if someone exceeds the funding limits that are in effect. How serious is that? Are there consequences? And if so, what are those consequences? So what's a traditional IRA? For many of us, it seems like a question that should have an easy answer, but I find that it's worth defining because I'm seeing many instances where individuals may walk into a financial institution and say, I want to open an IRA. And in many cases, they have no idea which IRA they want to open because they do not understand the differences between the two IRAs. Now, there are many features and benefits that apply to both the traditional and the Roth IRAs. And usually, what we try to focus on is the similarities as well as the differences, because it's the differences that makes the distinction between the two and helps the individual to determine which of the IRA is more suitable. So an IRA is a retirement savings account that is established and funded by the owner, unlike an employer-sponsored plan. Contributions can be deductible, and we'll talk about when contributions can be deductible. Earnings grow tax-deferred, and distributions are taxable except for basis. And so the question that I usually get is, basis? What is basis? I thought that basis only exists when you purchase securities, but that's not true. Basis exists in IRAs, and basis source from non-deductible contributions. If an individual makes a contribution to a traditional IRA, that individual can choose not to take a deduction for that contribution. In some cases, the individual just elects not to take a deduction, even if they're eligible to do so. And in other cases, they cannot take a deduction because they're not eligible to take that deduction. And we're going to look at when an individual can or cannot take a deduction as we proceed. The required minimum distribution rules applies to traditional IRA owners and beneficiaries. What is the required minimum distribution rules? Generally, distributions are optional from an IRA, but starting with the year in which the individual reaches age 70 and a half and continuing for every year after, the individual must take what is referred to as required minimum distributions, or RMDs. The RMDs are calculated using an IRS formula, or a formula that's provided in the RMD regulations. And under the RMD rules, the individual must take a minimum amount for each RMD year. And if less than that RMD amount is withdrawn from the IRA, then the shortage or the shortfall amount is subject to a 50% excess accumulation tax.